So don't go breaking my heart. I won't go breaking your heart. Don't go breaking my. I won't go breaking your heart. Woo, nobody knows it. Woo, right from the start, I gave you my heart. Don't go breaking my heart. I won't go breaking my. Don't go breaking my heart. Hello, and today we are doing Premier League predictions for matchday number 24 of the 2020 to 21 season. That was the song of the weekend. It was Don't Go Breaking My Heart by Elton John featuring Kiki D. And we are going to get into today's predictions. We're going to look back at matchday number 23's predictions and how we got on. And the colour of the week is going to be grey. And the song of the week is that one. The theme of the week, of course, Valentine's Day for that special someone. And it's also Wizard of Oz. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. So yeah, that's the theme. So let's go over the Predictions League and let's see how it stands. So, after last week, with a score of 11 points, not bad at all, Nathan, you are sitting in 4th position with a score of 20 overall points. In 3rd place with 37 points, didn't put their predictions in last week, but they might do it this week. It's Jack, so you're in 3rd. But who is top? With a score last week of 19 points, it was pretty decent from Douglas. He's now on 409 in 2nd, which means I'm still top on 466. After last week, I scored myself 25 points. Yes, we love to see it. Correct scores for me in the Fulham Leicester game. Or no, was that a previous week? It might have been, I'm pretty sure it was a previous week. So I'm actually a little bit behind the times there. No, let me rephrase that. I said a 2-0 for the Leicester one, but it was actually the 2-0 in the Leeds game that I got bang on. And I also got 2-0 to Spurs, exactly right. And Brighton against Burnley, I said exactly 1-1. So 3 correct scores is what you love to see. 25 points. Beautiful. So let's get into these predictions. Manchester City take on Spurs and Burnley go to Selhurst Park. So the first game we're going to be doing in these predictions is going to be between the teams that go by the name of Leicester City and Liverpool. Now, Alisson, mate, you just have done an absolute shocker there. Like, how have you done that against Manchester City? 2 mistakes, and Liverpool thumped 4-1 by title rivals Manchester City. It's absolutely dreadful for the Reds, and, they really need to catch up. Commiserations, of course, to Jurgen Klopp, who's having to go through a tough time with his mother passing away. I hope you're okay. But in terms of Liverpool's football, they haven't been scoring goals, and they've got a game here against Leicester that's not going to be easy on paper. Leicester have been a very good, consistent team this season, although against Wolves they weren't really at it, and they'll want to bounce back. But it's the sort of game you can see Leicester doing fairly well in. It's just whether they'll do enough to get the win here. But I'm going to go for a Liverpool win because they simply have to respond. And I think that the way that Leicester played would be a bit discouraging for the Foxes fans. The way they played against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Obviously got the last minute win in the FA Cup thanks to Kelechi Iheanacho. But Jamie Vardy will be back for this one, definitely. At least from the start. And I think that they will struggle to stop Liverpool on the counter-attack. As much as Leicester are a very good team, aesthetically, they have good players like Maddison and Barnes. I think Liverpool will just have the telling, quality in the end of the day. So we're going to go for Leicester City 0, Liverpool 3. And goal scorers in the first game of the weekend, Mo Salah, the Egyptian King, and then Roberto Firmino and Sadio Mane to basically make up the front three of all scoring this weekend. Alright, now let's go to the game that is between Brighton and Aston Villa. Now this is an interesting game to predict because Brighton have been on an amazing run of form. They've been a very good team at the minute, and they're facing a Villa team that have actually really surpassed a lot of people's expectations. I think with Brighton though, at home their form hasn't been consistent enough. They did beat Spurs, but they just haven't got many wins over the last year. So I think this is a tough game for Brighton, and they'll definitely be happy with a point. Can they get that though? I don't think so. I'm going to say Brighton 1, Aston Villa 2, with goals being scored on the night from Jack Grealish, then an equaliser from Neil Maupay, and a winner for Villa from Tyrone Mings, the defender. And now we've got Palace against Burnley. Now this is an interesting game. The Eagles have lost their last 2 games against Burnley, but I think that run will end. I think that... I don't know what I'm saying. I don't think that run will end, because I think Burnley, they've been defensively quite solid, quite stubborn, and they've not quite got the results recently. They should have really maybe got the win against Brighton. I don't know, but I just suppose Sanchez made a few good saves. And it's a sort of game that's going to be tight. It's going to be nervy, but Palace, without Zaha, they're just not scoring goals. So I think Burnley will grind this one out. And with the news that Nick Pope is going to be okay to play this game, I think they're going to get a lot of saves, stopped by that goalkeeper. So I think they're going to go and get the win at Selhurst Park. Palace 0, Burnley 1 is what I'm going to say. And the only goal scorer, Matt Lowton. All right, now we've got Everton against Fulham. That's quite a good game, actually. I'm going to be fascinated by that, just because Fulham can, on their day, get points against big teams. And Everton just beat Spurs 5-4 in the FA Cup, although it was at the unfortunate demise of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's got injured, hamstring. How long he'll be out for, we don't know, but it's not exactly ideal for that Everton team, because a lot of the play that they have runs through him. And Rodriguez as well, with a late fitness test. So we'll see if he's going to be available. At the minute, it's been the goalkeeper, Robin Olsen, that's been, trying to stop out the shots. But Pickford is maybe just starting to come back from injury. Whether he'll be back in time for this one, I'm not sure. But it's a game against Fulham that is still tough and still tough to call. But I'm going to go with a draw here. I know that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is likely to not play, but I'm still going to predict him to score anyway, because, I've done these predictions in advance, and I just want to keep them the same, just for, nice purposes, to keep it neat. All right, so ignore it in a way, but basically I'm saying Everton 1, Fulham 1. I just think that although this is a good chance for Everton this season with Ancelotti, and it's probably their chance to push for European football, I think that Fulham have shown a resilience and they will get a point. So 1-1 with goals from, in inverted commas, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I know he's not going to play, but, it is what it is. And then the equaliser for Fulham, let's say it'll be through Ademola Lookman. All right, now we've got Southampton versus Wolves. And this is a fascinating game. Will Danny Ings be the difference between these two sides? Well, it could be, but Southampton have been on a terrible run of form. Their forwards haven't exactly had the confidence, though Che Adams is starting to look a bit better, and he got an assist in the last game against Newcastle with that absolute peach of a free kick from James Ward-Prowse. Can Southampton bounce back against a Wolves team that have struggled to score goals, but also have been quite good keeping them out? Yeah, I think they will. I think Southampton at home, yes, they've been struggling, but they will be a bit stronger in this one. So I think it's going to be Southampton 2, Wolves 1, with goals coming on the day from James Ward-Prowse, then Che Adams, and the consolation for the team from the Black Country is Pedro Neto. Alright, now we've got a game that is between West Bromwich Albion and Manchester United. Now, this is an interesting one because it could be a tough one for the Baggies, and they could get battered here against a Man United team that have been pushing for top 4. At one point, maybe in the title race, but people are saying now that it's going to be Man City, which is likely, but you never know. I think the gap is only 5 points, if I'm right in thinking, so it could easily change with one result. So they've actually played one game more than Manchester City. That's the key factor. So Manchester City have got a good cushion, but, they're still getting a few results, Man United, so don't rule them out. They've got a West Brom team here to face that will be quaking in their boots for this game because it's a tough one for them to play. And United's away form this season has been absolutely brilliant, much better than at home in 2020 to 21. So they're relying on their away form, and I think they will keep it on. And I think it's not going to be an absolute hammering. Possibly West Brom do get an absolute bashing up in this game if they do concede very early on. But I'm thinking that United will just get away through this team and get a comfortable win. So West Bromwich Albion 0, Manchester United 2, and both goals I think will come from the midfield maestro, Bruno Fernandes. And now we've got a game that's between West Ham United and Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United, they're really in trouble. I think their gap is now, is it 3 points? Yeah, 3 points to, 4 points to Fulham. And it's a gap of 12 to the end, outside the relegation zone. So, yeah, they really need to pick up wins, but they are close to West Brom. It's just they're a bit cut off with that lot. But they really need to start getting more goals scored because that goal difference of -22 is not exactly ideal stuff. But I'm thinking that Sheffield United will make it tough for West Ham here. I just think West Ham, the form they're in, they did drop down after that result in the last game, but against Fulham, they did at least have a few chances. They just need to find that winning formula, and they need to basically not sign a new striker because Antonio is very good, but if he's getting injured sometimes, then you've got nothing else left, and you've got Odubeko that you've got to throw in, and I don't think they want to do that. So I think West Ham will have enough here, but it will be tight, it will be nervy, and it will be the classic West Ham way. West Ham 1, Sheffield United 0. And the only goal to make Sheffield United slip closer towards relegation is going to be from Aaron Cresswell for the Irons. Now let's move on to Manchester City against Tottenham, the game of the match week. It is an absolute humdinger. Now, did you know that Heung-min Son has scored 6 goals in 11 matches in all competitions against Man City? So he could be the danger man to watch out for. But ultimately, Manchester City have found it quite tough to beat Spurs in recent seasons. And this is going to be an interesting one at the Etihad, 5:30 kickoff on Sky Sports Premier League. Now, City have had 41 shots in their last 2 league games against Spurs. But, they've lost 2-0 on both occasions. So they're really not making the most of their time on the ball. They've also averaged over 65% possession in both of their last 2 head-to-heads. But on the break, Spurs are clinical, and their threat on the counter-attack has just been too much for them. But I think a lot of people fancy Pep Guardiola's team to put that right in this monster Premier League showdown because Man City's form has been very, very good. They're starting to gain momentum now and pull away from the rest of the chasing pack. They've only lost 2 games all season, and one of those was, I guess you could say, not an ideal one, but they haven't been a terrible team. So I think that Man City will recover from their early on in the season, their problems, and they do look a good team now. Obviously, Ruben Diaz maybe got us a bit of a stomach problem, but he might be all right for this game. We shall see. But I think the Spurs won't be able to get a win here, and I think it will be a thrilling game on Sky Sports. Let's hope it's a box office game for us to get the popcorn out and enjoy. But I'm going to say Manchester City 3, Tottenham Hotspur 2. And I think that they will end their 3-game winless run versus Spurs this weekend. So in that 5-goal thriller, I think there'll be goals scored by, if he's fit, Ruben Diaz, then Phil Foden, and then another goal, a consolation for Tanguy Ndombele, and Spurs, just like they did in the, I think it was it the 18 or the 19? No, the 1920 season. In this fixture, it was like game week 2 or something. I think that City will get an equaliser and come back from the dead. And to get that equaliser to make it 2-2, once again, it's Lucas Moura from a corner. And then I think that Man City will ultimately have the last laugh and win it 3-2. And that goal comes from a penalty scored this time by İlkay Gündoğan. Alright, now let's move on to the game that is between Arsenal and Leeds. Now this is another interesting match to look out for. It's on Sunday at 4:30 p.m. and the Gunners are actually in much better shape now that they, than they were back when they drew with the Leeds at 0-0 back in November. So yeah, maybe Arsenal can get a better result than that time, but Leeds have been still a good team to watch. Their style of play is exciting. They have lots of chances, and they got a good win against Palace last time. Arsenal away from home against Wolves, absolutely terrible. And really against Villa, they just did have a lot of the ball, but they didn't make the most of it, and the chances were snuffed out well. So I think they need to be more clinical, but I think they will be, and I think it will be a repeat of how they did against the likes of Newcastle at home, and it will be a fairly comfortable one, just because I think Arsenal have got enough firepower, and Leeds, the way they play, is going to expose those defenders. So I'm saying Arsenal 3, Leeds United 2. I think it could be a very good game, with both sides having threats going forward. And the Whites are on an 8-game winless run versus Arsenal in all competitions. Of course, I think it was a goal from Reece Nelson, if I'm right in thinking, to make it a 1-0 win for the Gunners in the FA Cup when they faced recently. But this is obviously in the Prem, and I think this is going to be an Arsenal win. So in this 3-2, I'm going to go for goals from Patrick Bamford. Then Leeds race into a 2-0 lead with a goal from Alioski. And Arsenal peg themselves back through a header from Rob Holding. And Arsenal make it 2-2 through Nicolas Pepe, who's been, telling a few Arsenal players to shape up and improve. And he's actually been doing well recently too. And then I think 3-2 in the Gunners' favour. Not sure if he will play, but if he does, then it will be absolute scenes. And he will be able to get the poppers out and get the birthday cake out, because it will be Party that wins it for the Gunners. So let's move on to the next one, which is the final one of this part of the predictions. Then we'll move on to part 2. But in the last part of part 1, it's Chelsea against Newcastle. Monday night game, under the lights at Stamford Bridge. And this is going to be a game where Newcastle will be really trying to keep the score down. They've not, scored enough goals this season, and it's been mainly through Callum Wilson. And Wilson is now out for 6 to 8 weeks. So yeah, it's not exactly ideal for the Magpies. They could really drop down the table in these coming games. And the gap is just 2 points to Burnley. So if Burnley can beat Crystal Palace, as I've predicted, then it will be a massive blow for them. And Fulham have obviously got 2 games in this game week, so they can really catch up with Newcastle. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But Thomas Tuchel's side, the Blues will be, I think, just far too strong for Newcastle, especially at home. If it was at Newcastle, maybe there's a last-minute winner for Newcastle, and they might have had a few defensive mix-ups like we saw in their last away game at Sheffield United. But I just think Chelsea at home are too solid, and they generally have kept a lot of clean sheets. So I think they'll do that again. Chelsea 3, Newcastle United 0 is what I'm going to predict. And in terms of goal scorers, I'm not sure, but the Magpies, they haven't won at Stamford Bridge since 2012. And I think that might have been the game that there was an absolute screamer scored by, is it Papi Cisse, with the outsider's foot, won the goal. And I'm pretty sure he scored another very good goal in the first half of that game. So yeah, it's a long wait for the Toon Army, and I think it will go on. They've averaged 30% of possession in their last 3 meetings with the Blues, so it doesn't bode well for Newcastle. They could be parking the bus once again and ultimately not scoring the goals. So 3-0 is what I'm saying, with goals from Callum Hudson-Odoi and then Kai Havertz, and finishing it off with a goal from the defender, Cesar Azpilicueta. Alright, that's part 1 of these predictions done. Now we move on to part 2, and this is the midweek games that have been rearranged from previous game weeks. So first we've got Burnley against Fulham. Now, this is an interesting one because it's 2 teams that really need the points. And if Fulham can win that game against Palace, then it will mean the gap is just 5 points between these 2 teams. And Burnley will really want... Actually, no, that's not true. I was going to say, yeah, if Burnley win, then obviously it's not 5 points. It will be 8 points. But the point is, if Burnley lose to Palace, and if Fulham, if they beat the team they're facing, which is who is it? It's Everton, which is probably unlikely, but you never know. If they do, then it would be an 8-point gap, provided that or 5-point gap, provided Burnley lose. But ultimately, it's still a big game, whatever the situation is, and I think that this is a tough one to call because Fulham away from home, they've got points against Spurs this season. You know, they've beaten some good teams like Leicester City, and Burnley at home are solid, but without Chris Wood, you know, I feel they'll struggle to score goals, even if they can keep the odd clean sheet. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a Fulham win here, and I'm going to say Burnley 0, Fulham 1, and the goal comes from Ivan Cavallero, the forward/second striker that sometimes gets his noggin on it, and I think he's going to do that again into the bottom corner. But finally, we have Everton against Manchester City, and this is a very exciting game, I think. Everton, we've known this season, have been capable to beat the big guys and the big guns in this Premier League season. And that was a thrilling game in the FA Cup, but can they do it again? Well, with that kind of game, you see that both sides have just not really cared about defending, and I think they'll be a bit more reserved in this Premier League game, especially Man City, who have been the best defence in the league. So hard to break down. I think Everton will score, but ultimately Manchester City are just a class above, and they're a class above a lot of people, and I could be wrong here. I could see an Everton win, but I'm not going to go for it. I'm going to say Everton 1, Manchester City 4, the same score as their last trip to a Merseyside club, Liverpool. And I'm saying the goal scorers here, I reckon James Rodriguez for the home side, but then City hit back with goals from John Stones, and then a hat-trick from the in-form superstar teenager, Phil Foden. That wraps up my predictions for matchday number 24 of the Premier League. Hope you have enjoyed. Smash a like on the video, comment yours down below, and I shall shout out the best predictions, and I shall see you in the next one. And don't forget to subscribe. We can push that up to 50 in no time. Tell your friends, tell your mates, sub to the channel. You won't regret it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.